What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Hustling Sideways podcast. I'm Alan Halas. I'm a music writer.
And I'm Jim Love. I'm a keynote and motivational speaker, and I am at home today. And I apologize for that. Usually I'd be at Allen's, but I'm back at home in the comfort of my own sweatpants, and I feel great.
And this is the Hustling Sideways podcast. And Jim and I actually, so we're both in the comfort of our own homes, but we are
Mhm.
both literally about to head to a Marquette basketball game
That's right.
right
Yeah.
after we tape. So it's not like I won't see Jim today. It's just
Yeah.
we'll be in the
In a
same
couple
building
hours, right?
eventually.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Just,
But we
life
we
things.
have well, it's been a heck of a winter. It's been awesome. We're approaching 100 shows, which is great. But we have a first in the history of Hustling Sideways. A first
Yeah,
today. We have
exciting day today.
a recurring guest, which is pretty cool. We've never done that before. And we were like, we got to talk to Andy again. So if you, in some way, my goodness, have listened to this show since it was made, you may know who Andy is. And Andy's one of those people, which is fantastic. But we're so excited. We have a lot to catch up on with Andy, all the great work that he's been doing. But Andy's an artist, and we're so excited. So, Andy, welcome back officially to the
Man,
show.
thank you so much. I'm so psyched that we got to do this, and I've been so sketchy and scatterbrained and elusive. So thanks for hanging in there with me. I'm really honored to be back. It's such a great show. So thanks for
100%, man.
We
And,
are,
and
so
Andy's
for
been,
reference,
yes,
oh
go
yeah,
ahead.
we are near episode 100.
amazing.
Andy was episode number 8. I just went back to go check. He was our So the first two shows were just Jim and I talking about what the show was, or the first three, I think. So yeah,
Yeah,
you would have been our fifth guest on Hustling Sideways. And now we do this whole thing with video, and we're all over the place now. So thank you
we've
for,
matured.
finding
We've
us.
really we've matured since then. That's
I
that's
love
it.
it. It's better. It's nice to see your faces, man. You guys are
That's right.
so animated and so yeah, this is an upgrade.
Yeah, total. Well, speaking of upgrade, your sweater game, Andy, is
Dude,
is on point. Look at this. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
wow.
that thing
Yeah.
rocks. Huh.
I for the first time in a week have shaved. I took a bath, and yeah, put on my favorite winter sweater. It's cold here in
There
Colorado.
you go. Yeah, and Andy's been on a bender. If people are wondering why he hasn't showered, he's just been out all night. He's been very sick, and he's back now, and just had a birthday, which is awesome.
Oh gosh,
And here you are. Yeah,
that was
happy
um,
belated.
it was a
I do
50th birthday,
appreciate that he did just bathe for the first time in the week for a remote podcast.
Of
right?
Like it,
course.
I
so
don't have,
that's also kind of nice.
but but I did bathe.
Well, Andy,
Um,
where are you at today? Where are you calling us
I'm in Saguache. I am not Saguache, Colorado.
from?
I'm not in the hotel, although it kind of looks like it from the brick. I'm a couple blocks away. But yeah, maybe I should have been in the hotel. I don't know why I wasn't. That's where I was.
That's okay.
So
Well, tell us a little bit about. So the last time we talked, you were wanting to transition the building you're in into a hotel, and obviously it's gone well. Walk us through the last couple of years of what you've been doing, man.
I want to hear the end of that statement. Obviously, it has been. That's what it has been. Dude, yeah, when you guys asked me back, well, the last time we spoke, which was maybe a year or something ago, I was just like, no, I can't, I don't have anything. And yeah, I'm sure you're all psyched up for all the updates and all this stuff. And going into this, I'm just thinking like, I don't know what I'm going to tell these guys, because I have no idea what's going on. I mean, I do, but the updates are like, uh, I think it's going to be a fun conversation because
Yeah.
essentially I was going to open the hotel and I was going to open the hotel essentially every year for the last 3 years, and I haven't, and I'm not going to this summer again. We're kind of like slow and steady,
Mhm.
and I don't really know how much to get into
Mhm.
you guys in terms of like why that is, and I would be curious as to, I don't know. The hotel is still moving along. We
for
really
sure.
are focusing on, I think I want to turn it into like a retreat, a center, where
Yeah.
we do music camps and writing retreats, have live music, art, wellness stuff. But I also sometimes I think about just like turning it into an artist co-op,
Mm.
or like a commune, and just having a bunch of artists hanging out. And essentially, like the closer we get to finishing it, the more I think about what my life is going to be like when
Yeah.
either I'm running or even if I'm just managing somebody running it. It's still going to be it's going to take over my life. So um, have essentially been just like limping along. I keep, when I'm here, I have one main contractor that's working all the time, and my dad
Mhm.
is helping out a bunch. And when I'm here and have a lot of time, then I can work, and the building, moves forward that much quicker. When I'm gone, I'm making money, through corporate gigs, and I'm still doing some headliner gigs, and that's great because I can pay off the plumbing and the electric and all the things because it's taking
Yeah.
so much money, but not that
Yeah.
much is getting done. So the trick is like how to keep making the payments, but not open. Um, and
Yeah, for
everybody in
sure.
town is just like, when are you going to open this thing, Andy? Like, come on. They're waiting for it. And I've made so many promises and false started so many times with opening. But dude, yeah, I don't want to open a hotel. And I really just want to like live in this magical world where, all my musician and artist friends are just around all the time and kind of
Yes.
mixing with the community, and somehow the payments are
That's
like,
where you
Somehow the
want to
bills
be.
get paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Real quick, I do want to backtrack just for people
sure,
that didn't
Mhm.
listen to episode 8, just to kind of give people the synopsis.
sorry,
So you bought this building in Colorado, um, in 2019, I believe,
right?
right? Or right before the pandemic,
Yep.
with the intention of turning it into a hotel at that point and possibly a music venue component of it too.
hmm
Um, so that is, I guess, just to bring people up to speed that you might have
Mhm.
not caught us from early on. Um,
I get
but
ahead of
it sounds like the plan has definitely evolved in addition to working on cruise ships and working, as a musician and touring and doing anything that you can on that front too. What was, I guess, was there any one big event that really kind of like changed the course of being like, okay, this isn't gonna be the hotel that I thought it was gonna be?
um, I don't basically our plans change like every 2 weeks here. And we're trying when we designed the hotel, and we were really just trying to figure out how to make it the most versatile space for anything we wanted to do, from like the way that we designed the commercial kitchen to the rooms and how the bathrooms are aligned, and can we block off this part of the building. When I bought it, and I can't remember, if we talked about this last time, but I bought this building just as something that I could work on for like maybe 10 or 15 years. Every
Mhm.
time I
Hmm.
wasn't on tour or wasn't out, I could just come back and like be in my space, and kind of I'm not disciplined enough to meditate, but like if I'm painting or drywalling or working on floors or whatever, that's sort of my therapy, or it's the only time I can make myself kind of slow down and just give myself time to think. So I wanted to do the work, and because of the pandemic, we sort of decided to open and go into it full on. So I wasn't even really, I didn't even like think about how I would run it or what I wanted it to be. I just liked the building and wanted to fix it.
Mhm.
And actually, I think when I bought it, I was just going to make it long term, because that was the only. I had a couple rental houses in Nashville
Yeah.
that were just like tiny, crappy little houses that I fixed up and rented. So I was like, well, they need housing here in Saguache, and so it's just like basically slowly kind of like morphed into all these things. And yeah, we changed the plans and changed the blueprints and changed the opening date and changed what we want to do with it. And um, so yeah, I'm just like kind of at a loss, and I'm past the point of being like overwhelmed. I've
Mhm.
sort of like
Hmm.
gotten used to this perpetual state of just figuring out how to make things work and not really worrying about it. But every time I do mushrooms, then I'm like, oh, that's what I need to do. with a hotel. Like, why didn't I see that before?
That should have been
And
it. That's great.
it's funny, like
So
the
that is like musician 101, obviously, is that
uh,
moment of clarity is when all of a sudden people are like, yes, that's
yeah,
what I'm gonna do. So
yeah,
thankfully that has not led you to like buying a second hotel and being like, you know what, we gotta start from scratch. But
no,
um
not quite, but
Yeah.
but do those moments of like, okay, let's say maybe not the mushrooms so much, but like when you're working on all of that, does it, I mean, you obviously get the satisfaction though of like feeling like, okay, progress is happening on this thing.
Mhm.
You know that you're at least not standing in just a vacant building that's gonna stay vacant kind
Mhm.
of thing, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
we have now we have like, four, almost 5 units with like little kitchenettes that are like essentially ready, but
Hmm.
people have to come through the construction zone to get to them, so we can't really rent them out.
mhm.
Plus, I'm always like working late at night. That's when I do construction, is like 6 to midnight. That's
Oh yeah. Hmm.
so yeah. I don't know. It's just I don't know if you guys have found this, but depending on the time of day, like just either everything seems possible, and I feel like I can do everything and turn make everything happen. And as you're getting tired and going toward the end of the day, and then the last couple hours, I'm just like overwhelmed and logistics creep in. I'm just like,
Hmm.
so I mean,
Yeah.
and I don't know if how I compare to other people, but my pendulum just swings so hard. And
Yeah.
have
Oh,
4 or 5
totally.
hours where we're like, we're doing it all, we're opening, we're like doing music, we're throwing a festival, like all that. And then by the end of the day, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't even, you know
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, you get
I have
like,
totally been there. Yeah.
there's like a
Where
level of excitement. I'm a morning guy, so like from 8 to 10 a.m., like I can get some stuff done. And then
hmm
like afternoon's like a little bit of a lull, and then like early afternoon until late is good. But like by the time the sun starts going down, I get really antsy, and I'm like, I shouldn't be in front of this computer anymore. Or like I should like I which is not good in the winter because that's like not that late, But like in the summer,
yeah,
it's a lot
totally.
better. But that's that I can get a spark and like get going, but then like I have to go take a break for like 2 hours and not be
hmm
there anymore. Now like at 8 p.m., then I could be like, all right, maybe I could fire it up again. But like the minute it starts going down, I just feel like I shouldn't be there anymore. That's always
yeah,
what creeps into my head.
For sure. And I am very much so my wife wakes up really early and goes and coaches CrossFit. So then I in turn wake up really early and I'm like, cool, I'm gonna go, like work on breaking and entering. I'm gonna, at least I wake up with like three or four things that I'm like, I'm gonna do this. And
hmm
then you start working on stuff, and then you realize like it's like I get up at 4 or 5 in the morning with my wife, and she's gone. So I'm probably with the time difference, we're probably working on stuff at the same time, Andy.
yeah,
Um, but I am like I start at that first couple hours, and I'm cranking stuff out, and it's good, and everything's feeling good. But then I hit a point where I'm like, my dog needs to go out at like
hmm
7 a.m. ish every day. And right before he's about to go out, I kind of lately, at least with the sun being down and it being dark in Milwaukee,
Yeah.
like you just kind of are like, I could roll over and go back to bed for like a half an hour. You know
hmm
what I mean? Like it
yeah,
totally is like the inspiration does. Absolutely. I get that completely. Like you just fall off the cliff where you're like, I was gonna do all this,
yep,
and then boom,
Yeah.
maybe I could just sleep for a minute or whatever,
Yeah.
or until the dog
Yeah.
barks at me or whatever.
the
So I totally feel
self-loathing
that.
that goes along with that at the end of the
Hmm.
day, because you raise all your expectations for yourself and you feel so
Hmm.
capable, and then at the end, I'm just like, damn it, Andy, you suck. And it's so hard to get out of that, like yeah, I mean,
Yeah, or if I have like a meeting that is like let's say an hour and a half meeting that is like blocked out in that main part of my morning, like that 9 till 11 a.m. or whatever. If
mhm,
I have that meeting for some reason, that meeting feels like it takes 4 hours and then I'm
Yeah.
done and it's noon. And then I'm
yeah,
like, well, I gotta go eat lunch and then I gotta go whatever. And I think about like when you're like a kid in school and you're like, you were in there for like 7 hours.
It was
Like,
unbelievable.
and you could just do stuff for seven
Yeah.
hours. And I
Yeah.
don't know how any
I,
adult does that now,
I
you know?
like I was just telling someone the other day, I never got recess as a kid. Like I didn't know that, like I thought recess was just a show that like people are like aspiring to be. So I
Whoa.
was in
Jim,
like
were you in
school.
jail? Jim,
It
were you
was
in
bad.
like,
Yeah, we got like, some rice every morning. No, it
oh
was
no.
just like it's crazy because then I look back, I'm like every kid had recess. I just never got a chance to go outside. So even then, like I was in school all day, and now like after 2 hours on this chair, I'm like I can't be. I got to go somewhere for 10 minutes and walk away. And yeah, you
Yeah.
really like it's actually I think it's like a psychological thing. Like people really do need to get up, and the amount of people that I hear throughout the day, they're just like on their computer, haven't eaten anything. Like I skipped breakfast, I skipped lunch. It's 4 o'clock, and I'm
Yeah.
like, you need to stop talking to me right now and like get up and
Totally.
go do that. This is insane. We can't live this way. We're human. We're
Sure.
supposed to.
Dude, I think even like as a kid, we everybody tosses around the ADHD thing so much,
Yeah,
and it's like it's sort of like anyway, that's a whole other topic.
yeah.
But I do think that I mean most everybody essentially is is has a short attention span now,
They always do,
and
right? No
even
Mhm.
like
matter
a
what.
45-minute class for a kid, it's too long without breaks.
Yeah,
Like you need to like
yeah.
get up and I don't know if they're doing that now or not. I'm so out of touch with uh
Yeah, it's
you know
and it's funny when I give a keynote, it's usually like an hour. I can't sit still for an hour and listen to me. So I make them get up every 15 minutes and like do something. Like they have to like I'm
yeah,
like, all right, great, everyone get up. And then if I can sense that everyone's like, it doesn't happen often because I've gotten
yeah.
better at what I do. But if I get a sense that like people are just kind of like, and I'll just stop what I'm doing, make them get up, like do 10 jumping jacks, like whatever I just come up with in that moment, and sit back down, and then like that just gets them they're ready again, and that's those breaks are so critical. But I'm thinking like one for you, like break wise too. And I know it sounds like you're still doing like on cruise ships, right? Like are you still taking those cruises, and how much is that still happening in your life to
Yeah.
do?
The last two winters, I pretty much went out for like 4 or 5 months, almost nonstop. And
Yeah.
I had my one contractor working and my dad at the hotel, and
Hmm.
and kind of nobody else at that point. And uh, yeah, essentially my dad. I mean, my dad's 78 or 79, um,
Hmm.
and he can't put in the long hours, and we have these big masonry heaters, these like biomass. The
Hmm.
regulations all about sustainable renovation. And so we have these two huge biomass heaters that you essentially have to like man in the morning and in the evening for a couple of hours, like feeding the fires. They slowly radiate heat, but anyway, it's sort of like a part-time job or almost a full-time job.
Yeah. Right.
You know,
Mhm.
they spend so much time just like lighting fires in the winter. And anyway, long story short, I said this winter I wasn't gonna do that to them again and leave for 4 or 5 months.
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
Um, and and then we don't open, and I spend a bunch of money, and then it's like the cruise thing is such a crutch for me because it keeps me it pays well. It's like easy other than the travel. And
Mhm.
it's so fun. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
a really
Oh yeah.
fun job, but I would also rather be here like the whole
Yeah.
time. But
That makes sense.
so yeah, I mean, if I can go out for anyway, so yeah, it's still happening. I'm about to go out for another month, and then after that, I've tried to cut down to like 10 days or less per month.
That's
Uh,
it. What is your like? Are you able to are you pretty shut off from like the outside world when you're there, or like do you have access to internet and stuff like that? Like what is that like?
it's better. Just in the last couple of years, the internet has gotten better, but it's
Sure.
being on the line. Since I do my shows kind of like some folk music and a lot of Spanish and classical stuff, and then I'll sing
Hmm.
a few, but it's definitely catered more toward like the luxury, like older people. And on those ships, like generally the internet's included because that's
Oh, nice.
included,
Okay.
and it's
Yeah.
not. It's hard to FaceTime. It's like hard to get good streaming, but like I can do most things. But even trying to do my taxes or anything that requires two-factor authentication is so hard
Oh,
because
Oh
I
yeah.
can't get into my bank
Totally.
accounts. I can't. So in that way, it's really hard. And any landline is just impossible to call. So
yeah.
it is restrictive, and it has been
Yeah.
a challenge.
Dude, I didn't even think about two-factor authentication. That's like that drives me nuts with normal Wi-Fi. I
Dude,
can't imagine that
Right.
on a cruise. Oh my gosh.
it kills me. Yeah.
We
It's
might be
just like
revolutionizing the cruise industry here now because
I
now
think we're going
somebody's going to
to
hear this and be like, "Oh yeah, that's probably a problem for us."
it.
Yeah.
So,
Had I thought about it, I would have changed like all my account. account phone number to like a Google Voice number, that would have solved it.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
Yeah.
and it's I mean, that's the other thing is like I go out, I'm gone for a month, and it's like insane, and then I come back and it's just like totally shifting gears, and it really
Mhm.
like messes with my brain every time I am doing this. It's just a really
Yeah.
kind of drastic thing. So anyway, I'm trying to ease out of the cruise industry. I like the corporate gigs, but I'm like tired of driving to Denver and driving to Vail, and that's where like all the money
I'm
is,
sure.
the bigger
Right.
the bigger corporate gigs. So I'm driving to Denver all the time, and I'm getting sick of that. So yeah, I don't know. It's just trying to
Yeah,
figure
because
out.
you're about a half an hour outside of Denver, right?
No, I'm
If
like
I'm
3.5 hours outside of Denver, or three.
Oh my God. Okay, yeah, that's a full day of between travel
Oh,
the gig and do the
yeah,
gig and then getting home. Oh my God.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I can imagine how that is hard to like there are just little roadblocks along the way with things like it's totally something that I think everybody that has a side hustle deals with in one way or another. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? Like even if their side hustle, their roadblock is their 9 to 5 job sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
but like it totally comes down to like wanting it for one, and then two, I think like just a matter of like figuring out time management, which every artist that I've ever spoken to ever
Yeah.
has no time management whatsoever, right? Like, the best thing I think that worked for me in the last year was like, and it's like little, was to like dedicate one, I don't know how this works with your schedule, but for me, I had to be like, okay, this one thing that is bogging me down every week. I got to
Mm-hmm.
just do this on Wednesday morning from this time to this time. I don't do any other work. I just work on this one aspect of my job that I cannot stand doing. That I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, if I do this on this one specific time, then all of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden, then like it was like the world opened up for me after that, where like I was like, oh, cool. I don't have to worry about, it's not Friday afternoon. And I go, oh God, I got to get that
Yeah.
thing done because I
Yeah.
did that one for the week, that one thing that drove me nuts on like Wednesday morning and just got over the hump and got out of it. I don't know. I don't know, Jim, do you have something like
Yeah,
that where
well,
you're like,
I do that. I also there's a gentleman named David Goggins. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but he's like a Navy SEAL Marine.
is
He's
he
like the
the
only
like
guy.
crazy workout guy?
Yeah, only guy who's gone through like all those things. He actually his thing is to do the thing you hate the most to start the day, and so that's why he runs like 20 miles or something insane like every morning, but he hates running.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
he's like, I want to knock that out right away. And granted, that's like a wildly extreme thing, but I really do try and get the thing. I'm like, get it done, just get it over with, move on, whatever that might be. But it's hard. It depends on what you're in and what you want to do. But that is definitely something I because then like you feel a sense of accomplishment. You got the rest of the day ahead of you, and now at your point, it's not Friday at 3 o'clock, and you're like, oh crap, I have to do that. Like here we are. So but it's definitely imperfect. Like I don't do that every week or every day, but I try and knock out. I try and prioritize in that way of like the thing that sucks the most. Start with that, and then carry on from there. See what you
Yeah.
can
For
do.
sure.
That's a great I don't know how scheduled everybody
Mm-hmm.
has habits and schedules, and all the time management stuff is like, get up at this time, and at least for me, my schedule's never the same.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
makes that harder, but that actually is a great suggestion. If the only thing that I plan for the day is have a cup of coffee and then do the hardest thing, or the thing that I least want to do, I like that. And then let the schedule
Yeah.
fit around that.
yeah. And then let it go, right? Well, do you find joy in unpredictability? Like, do you like when you wake up and it's kind of super different, or would you rather have more of a routine?
I think I've been doing it so long
Mm-hmm.
that I get really like anxious when things slow down, uh,
Mm.
and it
Yeah.
it kind of scares me. And I wonder. I've been so like oblivious most of my life, and my level of emotional intelligence has been so low up until like the last couple of years, and now I'm really like starting to think about
Sure.
why we do the things we do. But yeah, I think it probably has been a coping mechanism for whatever reason, but for so long now that it's just habitual to have chaos all the time, and it gets
Yeah.
a little bit harder. And also, I'm just so I was sort of a late bloomer, and been kind of immature for my age and obviously not taking a traditional path. And so I'm just like leaning into anything that makes me feel like I'm getting older. I'm like, screw that. I'm going to do
Do
what would
that.
a 20-year-old do? Like,
I
be
feel
Uh-huh.
an
that.
idiot.
I totally feel that.
I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you just don't do your
Wh-
taxes. That's it. Just you just
Exactly.
don't do
yeah,
them. Yeah.
obviously. Yeah. Andy, you said that part of this too, like, obviously things are getting pushed back a little bit and there's roadblocks and whatever. But part of it too is like you said, the town is kind of being like, when do you open? Like, what has the support been from the community? Or like, I mean, has there been any issues that way, or have people just been kind of like, well, that's the Hackbarth place. He's working on it. It'll
Yeah.
be open eventually.
That's a good question. I mean, everybody has been so supportive from like the county with grants, the state with grants, everybody in the town, people who donated. So many people have like, I have just I feel like I've sort of let so many people down. Maybe not ultimately because I will open the hotel at some point,
Mhm.
but I just I mean, I the big thing that I promised this summer or that I was going to launch this year or this last year was this YouTube series that sort of documented my life, the renovation of the hotel, the area. And I've been talking about this for like 3 years. I have so much footage and it's just like the most overwhelming project. And so this last summer, I decided, if I'm not going to open, I at least want to like start having something in the building, have some life in there. So I did 10 of
Mhm.
Wednesday night. It was like a live concert with guest musicians, and we would talk about water conservation or local foods, bring in like the county commissioners or speakers, and it was a really cool series, but so much work, like to
Mhm.
throw a big event every Wednesday for 10 weeks, and it cost me so much money. And it was great, like people from the community came out, but I haven't edited any of that footage. We had a 3 camera shoot set up every week, like all these
Yeah.
amazing musicians, and it's like I can't afford to hire somebody to edit all of it. I don't even really have a
Right.
plan. Anyway, so they were all really excited, and I said we're going to launch this thing, and now it's like crickets again since the end of the summer because I'm just back to like
But
survival mode. So
yeah.
yeah, to answer your question, I they are very patient. The locals understand that they alone cannot support the hotel. Like
Right.
we have to, there has to be a bigger vision that's gonna, to keep this thing moving forward. So they understand that. I think as long as I do some things to keep it moving forward, they're gonna be okay with it. But I'm at the point where like I have to do something publicly to start including,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think I mean that is something too though. Like ultimately that gets you in the good graces, I think, of, the town and the community there too, right? Like so take for instance, there's a restaurant in Milwaukee that used to be around for forever. It was in my neighborhood. Jim, I
Okay.
don't know if you're familiar with Bella's Fat Cat at all back in the day.
Oh yeah, I
Uh
remember that place. Yeah.
So that building is in Bayview. That building has been abandoned, not abandoned. It's had ownership for like 15 years.
Okay.
And this guy has never, I mean, I don't know. I shouldn't speak for the owner. I don't know what's going on, right? But for the large presence of it, it's been abandoned and it looks like nothing has been done to keep up with it. It's dilapidated. It's right in the middle of what is like a main stretch of like my neighborhood, like a main street. But
Hmm.
there's been no like outreach from the owners. Nobody really knows what's going on with it. All they know is that it hasn't been sold. It's just there as like a abandoned place. So like even you being able to do what you're doing, like I think from a in the PR standpoint of things, right, is like to still be like, hey, look, like I'm telling you something's coming. We're working on something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I think
That
just
positive.
being able to have an event or have something going on where you're like, all right, well, there's progress being made. Come at least see where we're at. I think is much more of an impact than you might think it might have, you know?
Well,
Hmm.
and I will say now I'm definitely, when I first bought the place and I got a bunch of press and we dove in head first, and a lot of people were like, okay, here comes this guy who doesn't live here and he's gonna, is he going to throw money around, or is he going to like just work on it for a year and then bail like everybody else, or like, and now they
Mhm.
real I mean, I've lived here for, I mean, this is my home. I've been here for
Mhm.
5 years. I know everybody. So I mean, I'm
Mhm.
really like a part of this community, and I have a bunch of
Mhm.
friends here. So in that way, like, you know, everybody knows kind of what's going on. They may not
Yeah.
exactly, but I'm not just some dude some developer that came in to, you know, whatever,
Yeah, you become a
Yeah.
fixture. You're there. You're permanently there. I think that's a big deal. And there's no timetable on what you
no.
create. Like you've got stuff going, and to your point, you got a few ideas of where you want to take it to. It could become a community place or artist
Mhm.
place. There's a lot of ways it could go, and I would imagine people understand that. And it's like you're. It's not like you've left. You being around, you sticking around is a big deal. Now, let me ask this: if you like, so let's go back 4 years ago when we first met to
Mhm.
January of 2021 or whatever it was, February, whatever it was. But if you could tell yourself one thing then when you were doing all this, what would that be? Like, so something you were like, here's the story, or like, as a heads up.
Man, I think about that question a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
the the answer is like, you just can't listen. It's like telling a teenager something, and it's like,
Mhm.
no matter how much you like shake them and say, I'm telling you, this is like the one thing, they can't like perceive it in a way that's like really meaningful. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, I don't know, man. Uh I think it would probably to be more organized with your finances.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Sure.
like just stuff is it's taken me so long to do these taxes and like track down receipts and
Mm-hmm.
um and just get a handle. There was a long period of time when I had no idea how much money I'd borrowed, how much, where it was going, I mean, I was just sort of flailing, and I was making enough with music to like know that I was making my payments, but I had
Right.
zero
Yeah.
idea. And um and so that's going to be, and I'm still like kind of spending a lot of time just on, going back and separating stuff out, and it's getting more complicated because I have grants and I have these tax credits,
Mm-hmm.
um
Mm-hmm.
and so I think that would be the biggest thing, is just say, please, if you do only one thing, just keep
Yeah.
track of your finances better.
I I
Yeah.
actually love that because usually people are like, I would tell them to be fearless or like, to not listen. And you're like, no, here's like a real thing you should do. Like I think that's
Yeah.
tangible. And it's interesting because a lot of people don't think about that. Like when I first did taxes after starting to speak, I had no idea that I like owed money, like after it was
Yeah.
also now I'm used to it and like just a crappy thing, but it's a thing. Like I was really annoyed. I didn't know what to, it was like a whole thing. But when people start this off, like to do something, whatever that side hustle is,
Mm.
you don't realize that there's financial ramifications that come with it after the fact. And taxes suck. Like there's a reason why a lot of people don't want to pay them. They're like they're not
Yeah.
fun and it's an unfortunate reality of life, but you have to like be real about it. I think that's a really good concrete piece of advice to give yourself. I like that.
Now I'm getting anxiety about my taxes for this year.
I know it sucks.
I
But
mean, it's not
I
even, it's
will say, oh,
taxes,
go
but
ahead.
just knowing kind of where you are, even
Yeah,
if
just
you're not trying to make a lot. I mean, and that was my thing, is like, dude, I'm not trying to get rich doing this. I just want to create this place that is
for
cool where I
sure.
hang out. But like,
Mm-hmm.
now I'm in order to even do that, to understand how it's going to operate in a very basic function, you gotta know where you are money
Yeah.
wise.
For
Yeah.
sure. I will say, I will argue though that I feel like the way that you've gone about it though is like something that is almost necessary for having a side hustle, right? Like Jim, when you started speaking, me when I started my website, like you totally have these like visions of grandeur, right? Like Jim, you probably thought, I'm gonna go speak to 20,000 seat, rooms or whatever, or maybe not that big, but like, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
you probably thought, hey, I'm gonna go like be like a main giant speaker and this is gonna be
Yeah.
Yeah.
my thing, right?
Totally.
I
Totally.
totally thought the first year that I went down to South by Southwest that I was gonna find some guy that was gonna launch my, music website and it was
Yep.
going to take off, and people were going to see these stickers that I'm handing out and QR codes, which back in like 2015 were like non-existent. You had to
Hmm.
download a separate thing to get them, and everybody was going to visit the website because of this. So like you kind of do have to start with those really lofty goals, I think, right? Or lofty ideas and
Yep.
like a little bit of probably ignorance, let's call it that, right?
Yep.
Blissful ignorance. But then I think as you mature with a business as a side hustle or as your main gig or whatever, like then you start to kind of get a little bit real about like, okay, well, I do still need to pay these things. I do still need, I still want that, right? I still want that big giant thing, but I also have to take care of like the macro or the micro stuff too,
Hmm.
as well along the way too. So I
Mhm.
mean, like, I think it's almost kind of necessary to what you had,
Oh yeah.
buying a building and being like, all right, we're going to turn this thing into a hotel and a community hub and all of this. Like you got to be a little bit lofty, right? To try and really be focused on it. But then eventually, like as you mature, like, yeah, I totally think that's part of the development process.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, that whole like when you have that idea, whether it's when you're fresh in the morning or after you whatever
Hmm.
had some sort of like awakening, you're like, this is the thing. And then
mhm.
logistics, like kind of beat you down a little bit.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
for me, yeah, it's like when I get tired, then I'm like, oh well, this and this and this. And it is like you have to keep kicking back up to the original like
Yeah,
big dream, and
you
it's
got to
so
find
hard.
something.
You got to say, I don't care
Yeah.
about the logistics, I don't care about the money. Like we got to boot it back up to where it was. That's such a challenge, um, because you just there's so many little tiny things that take all your energy, and I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. We've talked before on the show too about little wins along the way and
Hmm.
what that
Hmm.
does for you, right? Like, I mean, Jim, whether it's you locked in a new school that you want to go talk
Right.
to or a new client that
Right.
you want to go talk to, or for me, if it's like I had a show that went well and, we promoted it and we had more than 20 people there, like stuff like that
Hmm.
is like those little things along the way totally drive you, right? To be like oh, I can do this. I got this because
Yeah.
this one thing
Yeah.
happened. And it might be again a little bit of like blissful ignorance, but uh it can fuel you if you do it the right way,
Hmm.
or if you do it the way that you like to see it. So
Hmm.
Yeah.
so what is I mean, if people want to kind of keep up with the progress on things, what's the best way to kind of monitor it or maybe follow you and see kind of like some of the status updates on what's going on?
Yeah. So, thank you for that question. I took my website down. I pulled all my music from everywhere on the internet. The hotel website I think is live, but on my landing page of I just have a one page website right now that says I'm like contemplating my existence. And please sign up for the email newsletter. We are launching this show like within the next month or two.
Awesome.
And it is badass. I'm so psyched about it, and I think it's going to be huge. And I have so much work to do on it, but I just want to announce that that's the real thing that I'm focused on. So
Oh
go to
yeah.
andyhackbarth.com, sign up for the email newsletter, and as soon as we launch, and we're basically doing like an entire rebranding across the whole Andy Hackbarth and AH Entertainment and the Sawatch Hotel. And this is all centered around this place called Sawatch Land, which is
Hmm.
the all encompassing magical land where all of these sort of Venn diagram things intersect. But so yeah, it's my album, which is almost finished. That'll come out sometime next year, which I'm super psyched about. All of these things I'm somehow gonna
Yeah.
get to fit in together, and that really is the goal of for me. And I don't know how much you guys talk about this, but how much what I want from my side hustle is for it to be not even replacing my main hustle or my main job, but to for all the things that I want to overlap and be in one. So, family,
Yes.
friends, hanging out with musicians, having a space for community and for for whatever we want it to be, a common space. And yeah, music and talking about sustainability. And anyway, so that's what I'm working on. And the trick
Awesome.
is I don't want to launch any one of those things before like the picture makes sense as a whole. And so
Sure.
that's why nobody's heard from me in like 3, 4 years. And I feel like we're so close. And so, yeah, so I'd love for people to, and you can follow me on Instagram, Andy Hackbarth.
Love it. Love it.
I've
Yeah.
posted nothing, but I will. That's part of the whole thing. Social media is like, I just,
It's coming.
you guys know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we
great.
know. No, we totally know for
You
sure.
know.
Yeah. But it does sound like, I mean, everybody goes through, I feel like that feeling of like, oh my God, this is overwhelming and what do I
Mhm.
do with all of this? But like breaking through to the other side of that always feels great. No, even if it's a little crack in the window, you know what I mean? Like those things are always
Yeah.
good. So
Yeah.
I'm
Exactly.
excited to see what you've got going on and, follow these developments, especially as things
Mhm.
start to roll out and get launched along the way too. So,
Well,
so
you
thank
guys
you for
are
coming on.
absolute inspiration. I'm just so impressed with you. You're both doing amazing work and keeping this going. And yeah, you guys are amazing. It's really, I really admire you both a lot. So
Well, thank you.
keep
The
up.
feeling is
Yeah.
mutual. We're excited
Yeah,
to watch you
absolutely.
do your thing, and it's awesome 4 years later to have you come back. It's good
Likewise.
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Hopefully, we can do this in person at the hotel.
Yeah, man.
Um,
No doubt. Well, that was our next thing. We were like, we should, as soon as we're ready to rock, go
right.
down there, get some musicians on the show. Like that would be so much fun. So,
Cool.
That actually would
Do
be
it.
really cool. I
go
would love
there.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So stay
Absolutely.
tuned because that's gonna happen. We're gonna make this
Uh-huh.
happen. I like it. We're gonna be on a flight to Colorado, probably to Denver, and then from Denver to Swatch.
We'll drive it
We'll
up.
be on.
We'll be good to go.
You guys are
So,
amazing. Thanks so much for
so
having me.
Yeah, man.
yeah,
Thank you,
absolutely.
Andy. You bet.
And thank you guys so much for listening. If this is your first time listening or your 90 whatever time listening to us, we very much appreciate it. We are the Hustling Sideways podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are on YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, all of the places. We are also wherever you get your podcasts. You can go and follow us there as well. If you want to be a guest on this show, we've got an email. It is hustlingsideways@gmail.com. And Jim,
Keep on hustling.
I just destroyed my
As
microphone
Alan
right at the
smacks
end
his
there.
mic.
Yeah. All right. We will see you next week. This is the Hustling Sideways podcast. Thank you guys.
Yeah.